Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. We're getting an update from Labrador Gold, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol LAB and on the OTCQX under the symbol NKOSF. I am chatting with the president and CEO, Roger Moss. Now, Labrador Gold is focused at the Kingsway property in Newfoundland. The company has currently a 100,000 meter drill program ongoing, testing a wide range of targets. A lot of the initial focus at this Kingsway project has been in this big vein target. Now, that has a number of drill holes in it, and just recently, yesterday actually, April 5th, we had more results from this big vein target. I believe it was one of the best holes to date, the headline being 6 grams per ton gold over 19 meters. So a nice wide width on that result. Roger, explain this big vein target, because this result actually comes from the HTC zone, which is below the actual big vein fault zone. Take us through the makeup of this target, please.
Yeah, sure, Corey. It's good to be back in. It has been a while. Yeah, we were really happy with that result, obviously. In terms of big vein, the big vein target was generated from our discovery in October of 2020, when we discovered the visible gold in quartz vein boulders, and then shortly afterwards we saw the what we call the discovery outcrop of big vein. Now, when we started drilling, we were focused on big vein itself, which is that outcrop that we saw at surface, and we were drilling through it. And as we drilled more, we ended up getting more higher grade gold mineralization down in what we call the HTC zone. So that was interesting and obviously very encouraging. So now we had the big vein zone at the top, we had the HTC zone lower down, and even lower down or deeper, we had the HTC footwall zone. So in big vein, that particular area where we announced the results today, we have 3 zones: the big vein zone at surface, the HTC zone sort of intermediate, and the HTC footwall zone in the bottom. And you're quite correct. The big vein fault zone separates the big vein zone at the top from the HTC zone, and I think that fault zone is very important. As we know, these gold-bearing fluids come up along faults. We are on the Appleton fault right there. We haven't actually seen this big vein fault coming off the Appleton fault, but it's quite possible that this is a splay off the Appleton fault that's bringing the fluids coming up the Appleton fault into the big vein area. As far as the intersection goes, yeah, we were really happy. We were looking for these wider intercepts, and 6 grams over 19 meters is good in pretty much anybody's book. I think you're looking at I think it's about 115 gram meters. So if you times the gold grade by the meters, it's about 115, which is really good in terms of the gold deposits. So yeah, I think our investors were happy to finally see some width to some of this gold mineralization, and we were pretty happy with it too.
So then, Roger, it is still early days in terms of this drill program, but there has been a number of intersects on the big vein, as well as now the HTC zone, and another recent news release from March 29th outlined that the gold mineralization at big vein is now extended to 250 meters. What scale are we seeing early on here for both big vein and the HTC zone, please?
Yeah, the big vein target as it is now, as you mentioned, we've drilled it over 250 meter strike length. That news release you mentioned, I think it was March 29th. We had some high grade mineralization down in the southwest, 250 meters away. Unfortunately, the widths weren't as good as the ones we had yesterday, but they were still good, and we still had that high grade mineralization. So we got about 250 meter strike length there. And at the HTC zone, we're in the area of the discovery outcrop. We have about 250, 260 meters vertical depth down plunge that we've outlined. It's still open at depth, and the width is probably on the order of 75 to 100 meters wide in that chute, and it's still open to the northeast. So we've got mineralization to the southwest, and it remains open to the southwest, and we have mineralization in that HTC zone that's open to the northeast.
Okay, I think we've covered the big vein, let's say, target area that includes the HTC zone here, but there's a number of other targets that are also being drilled. We can go back to the very beginning of March, where you received the permit for the Golden Glove target. This, interestingly, is on the east side of this Appleton Fault. I know through a couple of our last webinars, there are a number of people that are excited to see some drilling being done on the east side of the fault because of what some of your neighbors have drilled on, again, the east side of the fault. What can you tell us about the Golden Glove target and what else could be happening on the eastern side of this Appleton Fault?
Well, yeah, the eastern side of the Appleton Fault has, you're absolutely right. Newfound Gold has most of their highest grade intercepts have been from the eastern side of the Appleton Fault. I'm not entirely convinced that it has to be on the eastern side, although their intersections are hard to beat. And the big vein zone is on the west side of the Appleton Fault. And we certainly haven't had the same kind of intersections that they have. We've had the grade, but we haven't had the same kind of widths. So Golden Glove will be a good test, and it is exciting to be on the eastern side of the Appleton Fault. We've drilled 3 holes there right now, and we'll see what comes of that. One of the things that I'm not convinced. One of the reasons I'm not really convinced about the east side versus the west side is that we see a very similar style of mineralization. We see the same types of lithologies, meaning coarse sedimentary units on the west side of the fault, as Newfound Gold apparently see at the Keats and Lotto on the east side of the fault at Keats and Lotto. We have the same kind of rock packages. So I'm just not as convinced that the east side is better, but I'm willing to test it. Obviously, everybody's excited about it, and that makes me happy. The other thing is that if we go up further north of Big Vein, Golden Glove is down to the south of Big Vein on the other side of the fault. If we go northeast of Big Vein along the Appleton Fault, we get to the pristine target. This is another one that we've been drilling now for a while. That is supposedly on the west side of the fault. But during our drilling, we found a really wide, what we call a damage zone. So this is a fault that's running through that pristine target. I don't know if that is the Appleton Fault or not, but it's a significant fault. It lies very close to our interpreted location in the Appleton Fault. So what I've said to the geologist is, we need to drill on the east side of that fault, because if it is the Appleton Fault, then we'll be drilling on the east side of the Appleton Fault at the pristine target as well as at Golden Glove. So if there is anything to this east side versus west side, then we'll have 2 targets that we're drilling on the east side of the fault.
Okay. Now, Roger, when it comes to assay results, clearly assay labs are still pretty backed up, but where does the company stand in terms of this overall 100,000 meter drill program, and how much is at the lab right now?
We are currently at about 38,000 meters through the 100,000 meters that we have planned. The numbers in the lab, it's about 45% of the samples that we've sent to the lab we're still waiting for results from. So there's a lot of core in the lab from Big Vein. I think I mentioned in the news release yesterday that we had something like 1,200 meters of core in the lab from that HTC zone where we had that intersection that we announced yesterday. We're still waiting for those results. We're waiting for a lot more results from the from the southwestern part of Big Vein, and we're waiting for all the results from all of the other targets. So the lab has told me that they're catching up. Right now in Newfoundland, it's breakup, so there's not as much work going on. I can look out the window right now, and there's a lot of snow. Snow is falling, but the ground is really wet. It's muddy, and it's not very conducive to pulling drills around. So the lab should catch up over the next month or so, and I think we'll be able to get more frequent results out to our investors.
Okay. So drill results are going to keep trickling out here. And I guess everyone's going to also wonder, is at the end of this 100,000 meter program, which still has a ways to go, what's the strategy going to be? Are you guys going to be putting out a resource, or is it going to most likely go into another drill program focused on where the best results have come from? Because there are a large number of targets here.
Yeah, there are. And you know, like I said, we're drilling on 4 targets. We're proving up another two or three right now that will become drill targets. And obviously, going into the spring, summer, we'll be out doing more prospecting. So I expect to turn up more. And this is all along the Appleton Fault. I think we'll continue drilling along the Appleton Fault because there are so many targets to look at, and we aren't in the business of mining, so we're not looking to put this into production or anything like that. And so I think the best thing that we can do for our shareholders in terms of creating value is to demonstrate just how prolific this Appleton Fault is, and to try and realize the potential of the entire 12 kilometers that we have on Kingsway.
All right. Well, Roger, we'll wrap it up here. I'll post a link below this interview to the company's news section on your website so that everyone can read over those recent news releases and recent drill results. If anyone has any follow-up questions, please email me, fleck@kereport.com. I'll get Roger to address those, and we'll follow up as more drill results hit the market, which it sounds like they should be pretty steady. So, Roger, I appreciate this update, and we'll be chatting again soon on the back of some more drill results.
Thanks, Cory. Always a pleasure.